So when I came up with the plan to end my life, I didn't. I knew I was because I lost my brother to suicide. I didn't want to make it messy because I didn't want nobody that I knew to find me, and I didn't want to make it look like a suicide because I wanted my family to be taken care of. So I was going to make it look like an accident.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
In case that we have friends with guns, in case they were at a friend's house and somebody pulls out a gun, to let them know, like, get the fuck out of there.
Now, you start to get on the mend, you get home. They put 6 months, you said. What, do you get a plate in your head?
It's like a medical grade plastic.
Okay.
They 3D printed it.
You can use the microwave.
No, I'm like Cousin Eddie,
That's exactly where I was going with it.
I pass out and forget who I am for a half hour and piss my pants.
Every once in a while, you just start giving that look up in the sky.
Yeah, I can't.
No problem with magnetometers or anything like that.
I can't go down the snow sleds either. I don't want to fuck up the part in my hair. You know what I'm saying?
How long did it take you to learn how to walk?
Without assistive devices?
Yeah.
I mean, at least 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, like 2 to 3 years to start walking without any assistive devices. I initially had to walk I had a crutch that wrapped around my wrist from the right arm, and then I had a brace from the back of my knee that kept my ankle and my knee locked, like because I would step and my knee would like hyperextend, and I had no control over my ankle. I would step and my ankle would roll, so this brace would keep my ankle steady and my knee from snapping back. Between that and the crutch, that's what I used to walk.
Now, did you lose any of your brain?
Oh yeah,
You did.
yeah. I got pictures of that. I mean, my brains were like I legit got my brains blown out. like mind blown has a different kind of.
You're
different
fucked
meaning.
up, dude. You were fucked up beyond belief with your sense of humor.
Do you know what caliber bullet it was?
Yeah, it's a 38.
Now, the reason I asked that is because did you notice any personality changes? Was Josh going to work that night different than Josh now?
I mean, I
Actually,
feel
this is more of a question for your wife, but what has your wife told you as far as your personality has changed?
so at the when we got to address the 2 suspects that went to jail, in her impact statement, she said to them that I was made up before I left for work that night. She said I was made up of 1 billion pieces, and after, she said she only got a handful of me back. So obviously, I'm not the same. But I feel maybe now this far out, like I'm starting to become me. I'm still a crazy fuck because I was being before. I'm just not as
A little more reserved now.
Yeah, I'm smarter now.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I say that is because I don't know. His name's Phineas, and in the late 1800s, he was a miner, and he's tamping dynamite into the rock. They're going to blow it with a long tamping rod, and the dynamite goes off, and it shoots the rod through right here, and it comes out here.
Yeah.
This guy, before this accident, was a kind, gentle man, and after the accident, he became a womanizer, became a drunk, he became fighting and everything. But eventually, after about 9 years, he went back. Like that neuroplasticity in the brain repairs itself. The body is an amazing
It
organism.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I was angry for a while, and it took me a lot of mental health treatment. It took a lot of work to get to where I'm at today. I'm not as angry as I was. And that's also, like, that anger that I felt, that also almost drove me to suicide.
Because you didn't want to live. What was your thinking? Because I've been in that spot, and I know there's a darkness to it, but there's always an initial reason behind it.
So the way I grew up, it was a rough upbringing. My dad was very physically violent towards myself, my mom, my siblings.
I'm guessing Florida Avenue.
No.
That was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, that was a Puerto Rican section.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it still was when I got home.
Yeah.
Florida, Georgia, like that area right there, Ducktown. But I saw myself, and I always promised myself growing up after my parents split up that I would never be like my father. I would never lay my hand on a female. I would never be like, aggressive towards a female, and I was becoming him. Where my wife and I would get into an argument, and I'd freak out. Like I would like break a dish or something. Like I'd just throw whatever it might have been. My kids would knock something over. I'd yell at them. They're just being kids, but I was just angry at the world, and I took it out on everyone else. And because I saw myself become my father, I felt they would be better off without me. So
After the accident or before the accident?
After.
After.
Yeah.
How long did that last for?
That was like a couple years going. That was at least 2 years of just, I was always angry, getting into arguments with my wife, yelling at the kids. And
Here it is. Your wife almost lost you, and now you're changing.
yeah, and
She had a lot of anger issues from that also. Everything
she was,
put-
but she handled it way better than I did. She is an angel. Like I am blessed to have her because she had to not only take care of our newborn daughter, our other two daughters, she had to take care of me too, because I couldn't get up to walk to the bathroom. If I had to pee in the middle of the night, I would have to wake her up to help me walk to the bathroom and use the restroom. And if I had to take a shit, I didn't have the strength on my left side or the balance to wipe myself, so she would have to wipe my ass for me too.
Wow.
It's another kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have a newborn at home too at this point.
Yeah.
How big are your shits, dude? Oh, you're talking about. Oh, I get it. That is something that. Geez, your wife is something special.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And this
What's
is
her name?
why. Laura.
Laura.
Yeah, and that's why I say she's tougher than I am.
You're waking her up in the middle of the night when you have a newborn at home that's probably not sleeping through the night. So she's not sleeping. She's waking up for you. She's waking up for the baby.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could have done for the baby back then.
Nope.
You couldn't do anything for yourself.
No. And I remember there was times like I have the strongest bladder I think in the world because there was times where I would just lay there and just hold my piss for as long as I could.
No, there's a trick. You roll over on your side and you curl up in a fetal position, and it expands the bladder. That's the trick.
Oh, really?
You tell them now.
Like, yeah, yeah, thanks. Well, even then, like, I couldn't roll. I would have to
You're
sleep on my
stuck,
back.
man.
You're stuck.
I'm sorry, buddy. You're
Yeah.
screwed.
Pinch the head.
So what changed though? What changed?
So when I came up with the plan to end my life, I knew I was, because I lost my brother to suicide. I didn't want to make it messy because I didn't want nobody that I knew to find me. And I didn't want to make it look like a suicide because I wanted my family to be taken care of. So I was going to make it look like an accident or clean. And I hid it so well. My wife never had an idea. My mom, my sister, my partner, nobody ever had a clue that I was actively thinking and had a plan. And it wasn't the person that saved my life was Bill Mazer.
Bill Mazer.
And there's no coincidences in life. And fortunately, at that time, Billy was retired from the PD, and he started working for. It's called Acadia Healthcare. It's a mental health company.
As a matter of fact, Billy is good friends with Irish Angel.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Billy, fortunate for me, through his experience, through his job, he knew that that I'm not okay. Nobody's going to be okay after what happened to me. And he called me up one day, not out of the blue because we talked all the time. He called me up. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm just sitting at home chilling. He's like, are you dressed? And I'm like, yeah, why the fuck you asking me that? I'm like, you want to know what I'm wearing? Just messing around. And he's like, no. He's like, I just want to know if you're dressed because I want to come pick you up and I'm going to take you to lunch. I'm like, all right, cool. So he comes, he picks me up. We go to a local diner, and we talked on the ride there. Nothing was said about how I was doing. We get to the diner. He sits across the table from me, and he's like, "Yo, how you doing? How you been?" I'm like, "I'm good." That's the default answer. I'm good. I'm fine. And he's like, but no, seriously, like, how are you doing? Like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm good, bro. I'm okay. He's like, but how are you doing for real? And I'm like, why the fuck do you keep asking me the same question? I'm like, I'm good. I told you I'm good. And then he posed the question a different way to me. He said, how are you feeling emotionally? And when he said it that way, I'm like, fuck, man, he knows. And he's the first person I flat out said, Billy, I'm actually thinking about killing myself. And like it felt like a weight was lifted off my chest and my shoulders when I said that. And I expected him to be like, what the fuck? He was like, I know. I sat back. I'm like, what do you mean you know? He's like, well, you've been through a traumatic event. These types of traumas bring up deep-seated, traumas from your past, your childhood, and everything. It's just a normal course of events. And he's like, I want to get you help. I'm like, how are you going to help me? And because of his company, they own numerous healthcare facilities all over the country. He got me to go to this place in Arizona called Sierra Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
And I went away there the first time for a month. And as we were talking earlier about success and like money being success, the first time I was there, I met multimillionaires that were drug addicts and alcoholics. Because of some type of trauma they suffered, they were able to be successful, make a ton of money, but they still suffered. And here you think, like, what is somebody that has the world by the balls? What do they have to worry about? And no, everybody suffers some type of trauma.
Believe it or not, there are many, many, many high-functioning alcoholics that are ultra successful.
Yeah.
Because their company lets them because they do such a good job, their company lets them get away. Take off here, come in late here.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting the job done, they don't care what you do on the side. Just keep
Exactly.
making us money, you keep making money.
Yeah, and I met all these people there and hearing their stories, I was afraid to share my story because I didn't want to talk about what happened to me.
Especially outside of law enforcement.
Yeah,
You don't want to tell
exactly.
civilians what's going on.
Exactly. I'm listening to everybody tell their stories. I'm like, I can't fucking share this. There's men, these successful businessmen, talking about being molested as kids, as children. And they going in detail about stuff, and then listening to women talking about how they were brutally raped or whatever stories they were telling. I'm like, my shit does not compare to that. Like, I'm not sharing this at all.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely. And it took me a while to finally build up the courage to share my story because I'm listening to all these other patients. Like, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I shared my story, and those same people that I admired for their strength and surviving what they survived, they came up to me and said that they admired me for my strength for surviving what I survived. And I motivated and empowered them to be stronger in their recovery and their sobriety. Like, I gave them perspective with whatever they were going through.
Is this what led you into your new life? Into speaking and the Josh Vadell Foundation?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So another thing of why I wanted to commit suicide, why I wanted to die by suicide, was I felt like I had no purpose anymore in life. I couldn't.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Kidding.
Yeah, I couldn't go to work and produce for my family. I couldn't
Start a
make money.
podcast. It seems to work.
It's easier to come on.
You could just leave. You don't have to help us break down and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. I have no rules when I leave here.
In all honesty, it's a common thread among somebody who's gone through a traumatic incident, loses their career. You went to work one day and never went back again.
Exactly.
And now what? Now what do you do?
Yeah.
And something you put your whole heart and soul into. Like I could tell you're a guy that loved the job too.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that job is gone.
Yeah.
Like you said, it gives you no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You just sit there like, after my shooting, the investigation took 53 weeks. You couldn't work for those 53 weeks. I sat in the house. I felt like a pile of garbage. Couldn't do anything. You couldn't go out and get work. You couldn't do a goddamn thing.
Right.
Felt like I had no purpose in life.
Yeah, and that's what gave me purpose when I was in that facility, hearing all these people come up to me and tell me that I inspired and motivated them to be stronger in sobriety or recovery, and that they would remember me, for the rest of their lives. They're like, you should speak to more people than just us. If you can empower us, you can empower so many more other people. And I'm like, there's something there. When I came out, I came home. One, I was a changed person. I wasn't angry as I was before I went in. I appreciated life and what I had. I realized that what I went through, where I was at that moment, could have been worse. And I remind myself to this day about that every single day, that what happened to me and just anything in life in general could always be worse. So Billy got me connected with talking to people.
It's nothing like coming home from the first hug coming home from a rehab facility. I can attest to this one. You get that stuff ripped away from you, and then when you get it back, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Well, so the Josh Vadell Foundation, tell us about that.
Okay, so that was actually a nonprofit foundation that my wife and I started after the shooting, because so much was given to us, so much money was raised for us by so many people from all over the country, even the world. They were like, you know what, we want to pay it forward. We want to give it back to those that either suffered a similar injury. Initially, it was just for cops. Like, we want to help a cop going forward if it happens similar to what happened to me. And then we got to thinking, like, why just keep it police officers? Then we opened it to all first responders, and then we're like, but everybody, suffers trauma and loss. And then we're like, let's just give it to whoever needs it in the community, just to pay it forward.
So it's community specific, or is it nationwide, or is it worldwide?
Wherever we hear. I mean, it's mostly word of mouth. But we've helped people all over the country.
I got to tell you something, Josh. So the night that we met, you gave me your card, and it says on there, Josh Vadell Foundation. And on my desk at home, and this is no bullshit, I'll take a picture of it when I get home for you. On my desk sits your card, because when I came home that night, I put your card on my desk, and I sat it where I wouldn't normally sit a card.
Yeah.
And that card hasn't moved. And every single day, I'm not kidding you, every single day, I look at that card.
Yeah. Do you have the quote? Like, is it the quote part or the front part?
The front part.
Okay.
The front part. And I just look at that, and there are times, like Mike will tell you, we have our moments. We have our moments. We can't say we're 100% past our stuff. But I'll take a look at that card, and I'm like, at least I shaved all my balls today.
Yeah. I'll never make that mistake again. That's why do you think I was late getting here?
God forbid he gets into a car accident.
Right? You know how hard it is to work around a giant sequoia with one hand, bro? It's hard.
Hey, all I know is mine works. It's worked twice. I'm good.
Yeah, luckily me too. That was another thing. They didn't know
if that was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
See, then, okay.
And it was a celebration.
Now I understand why you were suicidal.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Well, actually, I got my first erection in the ICU.
Hot nurse?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they were all hot.
Josh, you got an amazing story.
An amazing sense of humor, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like talking about my dick. It's a short story. Can I just tell you one more thing real quick?
Go ahead.
So, no, actually, when I got that first erection, because I couldn't go to the bathroom, like, on my own, they had to cath me, and the catheter hurt. So when they took the catheter out, and they put a Texas catheter on, which is like a condom catheter. And when I got hard, it cut off the fucking circulation, so the blood wasn't able to come back out. It was like a cock ring. Yeah. And I remember waking up, my dick hurting, and my one boy was in. So I always had to have somebody watching me, because I was a maniac. I was in that fight mode. I was trying to fight to get out of the hospital because I wanted to get going. I didn't want to lay in the bed. So I remember waking up, my dick was hurting, and I saw it was my boy Danny. I'm like, Danny. He was sleeping. He's like, what? I'm like, my dick hurts. He's like, what do you want me to do about it?
Rub it for me.
I'm like, get the nurse, bro. I'm like, something's not right. I'm like, it hurts. So the nurse comes in, she pulls back the sheets. She's like, oh my. And I was like, I get that reaction a lot. And she's like, well, no, it's engorged. I'm like, what? I'm like, what's that mean?
He gets shot in the head and dies of priapism.
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
And she's like, you got an erection and the blood, it's not coming out. And I was like, it got hard. She's like, yeah, and it was like a celebration.
Yes.
that it got hard. Like it works.
Okay, life's worth living now.
Yeah.
Life's worth living.
And no, I think there's only been one person ever that's ever asked my wife if it works or not.
That's not something I would ask your wife after all the
I know,
shit
and
she's
that's the
been through.
thing. That's how crazy people are.
Say,
Like,
hopefully,
people shout out.
it was one of our friends that asked it.
It was a random. It was a random. I
crazy.
think we were at like at a bar or something, and the wife or whatever this man was, like, she asked, like, does it still work? Yeah, of course. She's drunk, and she's like, fuck yeah, it still works. She's like, yeah, we had another kid, and he's good. She's look at him. She's like, I'm still with him. It works.
Maybe he was fishing. Guys are fucked up because maybe he was fishing like, well, if his doesn't work, mine does.
Yeah.
This doesn't work. What are you doing later?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
I really
Or
wouldn't
maybe
put it
the
past him.
wife.
Yeah.
It's not every day you get to ride a hero's dick, right?
By the way, tombstone quote, bro.
Yeah.
Tombstone quote right
There
there.
you go. Yeah.
That's a mic drop for you. Josh, you have this really amazing story. Where can we find Josh Vadell Foundation?
Oh, so we're on Facebook now. I have to get the Instagram back up because I don't know what the hell happened, but they deleted our Instagram and all the photos we had on there got deleted.
Really?
Yeah, so I got to start it back up.
All right.
But yeah, you can find it on Facebook, and we have a PO box. We don't have nothing set up yet because I primarily run it, and I don't know to do all the logistics of creating like a web page and all that other stuff. So we do word of mouth donations, and sometimes when I go on speaking gigs, I'll donate a little bit of the proceeds from that to the foundation. I give it back.
Well, I can help you out a little bit on that. We'll talk after the show.
Okay.
You've got an amazing story. You've gone through suffering, and we didn't even scratch the surface. Like, I know there's a lot more.
Oh yeah, I could go on for a long time.
I ask everybody this same question. You've gone through an enormous amount of pain and suffering and mental stress, but there's always a lesson in it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what has that taught you, all that pain and suffering you've gone through?
It could always be worse, and life's too short to be pissed off all the time.
I think we need to take a lesson from Josh, you and I.
Rather be pissed off than pissed on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I just love life that much more, and I love to have fun. Like, I'm constantly making jokes or just laughing. With my kids, I joke around with my kids, my wife. Like, with anybody.
You know what it does?
I
It
love
puts
making
people's guards down.
Yeah.
You went through something awful, and somebody who meets you for the first time might not want to. They're curious about what you went through, but they might not want to talk to you about it. By you being with that humor, just drops everybody's guard. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, he's just a normal guy.
Right.
You know, that's a big thing. and
Yeah, I
commend you
usually
for
get,
it.
when people ask me like about what happened to me, or the scars or whatnot, I always give them multiple choice answers. And I'll say A, motorcycle accident, B, shark attack. Like, I'll just say like off the wall crazy shit. And when I say, D, gunshot to the head, nobody ever picks D until when I tell them, they're like, nah, you're lying. Because
Google my name.
yeah, because they'll say, it was a shark attack. Like, nah, just kidding. I made that up. And then I say, no, it was a gunshot. And they're like, nah, you made that up. You're lying. I'm like, no. I'm like, I swear to God, Google my name. And they'll Google. And they're like, holy shit.
Oh, that's crazy.
Josh, thank you so much for coming here and
Josh, you,
telling
you
us.
have such
Thank
a
you.
great outlook, man. You really do.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you.
Thanks, man. I just, another thing is I questioned why I survived. And I'm still waiting to see why. I know.
Oh, I know why.
I know, yeah.
I know exactly why. You don't say it, but I say it.
Yeah.
The Josh Vadell Foundation.
Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing.
That gives you your new purpose now.
Absolutely. And it doesn't pay as well as I would hope.
Neither
but
does a
hey.
podcast, so don't worry about it.
My wife works so hard now as a nurse. I just want to be able to make, I get my pension, but it's, it's peanuts.
New Jersey's expensive. People don't realize that.
Yeah. So I just want to give my wife some kind of reprieve from working so hard as a nurse.
You got some great things for you in the future. Trust me when I tell you.
Absolutely.
I hope so. I love helping people. That's why I got on the job. And now, so real quick, when I got to address the suspects, the other two, I actually thanked them for being there that night.
It took me 6 years to forgive the guy who shot at me.
Really?
And once I did, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I realized that once I did that, it took the power away from them.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing too, and this is going to sound very strange. You're never put in the wrong place. You're always in the right place at the right time. You were meant to go through what you went through
Absolutely.
because you have another purpose.
Yeah.
I'm sure you love being a police officer, and I'm sure you were very good at it, but that's not what you were meant to do. What you're
Right.
doing right now is what you were meant to do.
Yeah. And I always tell people it happened the way it had to happen. It had to be me that got shot. Not only for me, the shooting didn't happen to me. It happened for me, I like to say. Like, it happened, I got shot because I was the stronger of the two of us. Tommy was 20, at that time he was 25. Year on the job, wasn't married, no kids. I was 10 years on. I had a wife and kids. I could pension out. What would he do with a year on the job with no wife and kids? Like, who?
Making $35,000 a year.
Exactly. And especially, I'm disabled on my left side. What young 20-something-year-old or younger would want a guy that's, I guess, so to speak, damaged?
You would save him from suicide. That's what you did. So you're saving people every day by what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Josh. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. As always, let's think about all the stuff that we learned.
Bring me back for the whole story.
Well, next time you bring Billy up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Lucky can be all about perspective. If you're going to shave, finish the job. Pay attention to the signs. They're always there. Sometimes a shot in the head is exactly what you needed. There's no coincidences in life, but most importantly, Laura is Josh's angel. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget you can always listen before you watch. All our audio episodes come out on Sunday before starting on YouTube on Monday. Follow us on all social media. Don't forget to check out our Patreon page, which can be found at thesufferingpodcast.com. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. And we will see you on the next episode.